everybody and so that they're able to read it. Also, organized and legible structure. Like I mentioned before, you want them to be able to read it and immediately know what they're looking at. And we'll kind of go on to a couple of different organization methods a little bit later in the presentation. And also, I also put this on here as well, but for more creative jobs, you might want to make it pretty and colorful. It's your personal preference, it's your resume, so we're not here to say it has to be black and white, Times New Roman size 12 font. It's up to you, and you can put whatever you want to on your resume in the end. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but if anybody has any questions or comments throughout the presentation, feel free to put that in the chat. We'll probably cover some of them like halfway through or at the end, something like that. So here are some examples for formatting. Now, looking at this resume, does this make you want to read it? My answer was no. First of all, this is really ugly colors. There's nothing under each of these work histories. Like, you can't really tell what they did at all. And it just doesn't look very like professional in my opinion. How about this one? I say no to this one also. It looks more like an essay to me than a resume. There's so much to read here. They don't really draw your eye to anything specific. Also, I don't know what's up with this, but they have like a huge paragraph here and then another huge paragraph here, all under one work experience. So I say, for me personally, no, this doesn't make me want to read it. How about these? This one I really liked. I thought this bar was really creative at the top where you can see all of the different socials and ways to contact the person. I think it just looks really, really pretty and clean. And finally, this one, I picked it because it's got UCF colors on it, which is really fun. But I liked how they organized the stuff on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side as well. It looks very legible and makes me want to read it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Megan. So for this piece right here, we're mainly going to be talking about the content. So there are some key sections that you want to add to your resume. Some of us, when you start off, you might think, okay, I got my name, I got my experience, but what else? You want to have an executive summary on there. You want to include your skills, any honors that you may have achieved, and campus involvement. Again, you want to approach this like you're selling yourself. So really pick and choose the areas where you shine off. And then the following details would be to organize your resume with the most relevant sections. So if some of these don't apply for the job that you're looking for, then they may not be relevant. And you want to order them in, you want to have the details from the most recent to the least recent. So it gives employers, when they pick it up, they're really going to try to skim through your resume. So you want to have the most relevant information in the right places. So when they're skimming through it, you're getting them with, again, it's just like your branding, right? If I have like a box of cereal, I want to be able to catch your eye and I want to be able to tell you what flavors this encompasses right away. So you don't have to pick it up and really go through and read so much. Next slide. Awesome. So here we're just going to do a breakdown of some of the sections. So an executive summary, it simply needs to be a few sentences. It needs to answer who you are, what you can do, and what you've accomplished. Does that sound a little bit familiar to you? It's essentially a very minimized version of your elevator pitch. If you've never done that, I recommend you just Google exactly what that is. But again, it's who you are, what you can do, and what you've accomplished. Education, any relevant degrees, certificates. Did you make the dean's list? Were you highlighted by your professor? I don't know, anything like that. And then work experience. Now, this is the part where I find the most interesting, right? You want to add relevant work experience. And some of us have only had a job working in retail, grocery stores, or even restaurants. But you have to remember, at any place where you work, any achievements that that establishment had. So let's pretend you work at at an ale house, right? And that ale house was the #1 in all of Central Florida, or they were #1 in cutting cost, or you guys landed a big supplier for it. every single person in there is responsible for that achievement. So don't just minimize yourself to your role. So if you were just a cashier or if you were just a server, no, you achieved that because you were part of the team. And if it wasn't for your contribution, maybe somebody would have had to pick up the slack somewhere else, and they might not have been able to do that. So really think to yourself whenever your store or your restaurant or your place of employment celebrates something, that's something that you can write down for yourself, that you have it as an achievement. And as well, whenever management gives you a compliment, write it down. And because those are things that you can highlight to employers that you're a team player and that you can get the job done. Next slide, please. Awesome. So these are just like some additional tips. So we recommend having a master resume, just kind of have something laid out with your jobs, experience, all the stuff that you wouldn't want to rewrite. And then depending on the place that you're applying, you may want to adjust it. So just have just one, after you fill it out, you made your first resume, that if you apply for at a job where the skills needed are very customer service related, or they require interpersonal skills, then maybe you can change the bullet point here, or change another one where the information isn't as relevant. And the opposite applies as well. If you're applying for a job where technical skills are required, then you can highlight those achievements. And consistency. So one of the things that I see the most when looking at resumes or even helping friends and family is they'll have their information laid out. They'll have the dates of employment on one side, but then maybe for one piece of employer, they have it on the left. If you're gonna stick to a specific format, follow it all the way through. Because again, you have to want to put yourself in the position of the employer. When they're picking it up, they're skimming through it. So if they see, okay, you worked at Apple, and they see the dates that you worked at Apple, they're expecting to see dates on that side. They're expecting to see positions on one side. So you want to have it as clean and as organized as possible and as consistent as possible. And likewise, it's not just the resume. If you have a piece of information on your LinkedIn, and you update your LinkedIn, make sure to transfer that over to your resume as well. You want to make sure when they look at your resume and they look you up online and they see your online presence, that everything matches across the board. And same thing with like percentages. It's happened to me before. I didn't catch it until later. I won this award for a job of mine where it was for like quarter 1, and I realized that I had accidentally put the wrong quarter on my resume. It was, the information just was not matching. And so go through it, be thorough, compare where you have your information, and make sure it's consistent everywhere. And then the last piece is review. Please, 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 at the bare minimum, you should be doing the grammar check on Microsoft Word. That's bare minimum. But another tool is actually read your resume out loud, not in your mind, because your mind tends to look for word patterns, and you may skip a word that you wrote incorrectly. Read it out loud, make sure that the flow of what you wrote makes sense. And then actually get it peer reviewed. So coming to an event like us, going to career services, or making an appointment with Office of Professional Development, they're there to help you. So take advantage of those resources. Next. Awesome. So here we're going to look at some examples. So specifically the achievements. So let's look at the first 4 that we have: responsible for achieving calls from customers, tasked with updating clients on connection status, try to create positive report, and use software to log customer feedback. This work experience tells me absolutely nothing about this person. It mainly tells me what they were responsible for. Handled incoming calls from customer. If I was a manager and I was looking at this, I would feel like I'm reading a job description. Can we get the next one? I think I have a better example. Oh, actually, give me 1 second. Then there's one more that we need to critique. This one right here is a specific situation where this person went crazy with the fonts, the colors. It's extremely distracting to the bulk of the information. There's no way your name needs a shadow under there. And there's no way you need those big bullet points with the customer. I can't even see the salaries. It's very distracting to the information and what you're actually trying to sell. You guys in the chat are funny. Next slide, please. Awesome. So this is another example. This is something that we would really want. This person is, as you can see, they keep everything consistent. Employer on the left, dates on the right, and the bullet points follow a very similar format. It doesn't feel like you're being distracted by any unnecessary graphics. And as well, the bullet points highlight achievements and even even if they don't highlight an achievement, they specifically speak to the responsibilities that they had and how they embody teamwork and how this person sells themselves with this experience specifically. But yeah, they had action verbs and it was extremely readable. So we would totally hire this person as opposed to Ham Dugo from the last slide. Next slide, please.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this one really quick, and I'm sad I can't see the chat. I'm excited to look at it later. Okay, anyway, so now we're gonna dive into cover letters a little bit more. So first, talking about what a cover letter is, and do I actually need one, and when do I need one? Then going into formatting and content, kind of like what we talked about with the resumes, and then some examples as well. So I'm gonna hand it back off to Christian.
Thank you. So cover letters, yeah, there we go. So you might wonder, do I need a cover letter or when? For the most part, I know with me, it's always been emphasized resume, resume, resume. And I've never gotten to the point of writing a cover letter up until, you know, we start having that conversation. It's not anything that is required unless it specifies that it's part of the, you know, application submission process. And you should see it like typically in most job applications, you should see it where it says added document. So in most cases, wherever you would add a resume is where you would add a cover letter unless it specifies otherwise. And the same thing would apply in this case with the cover letters as they would with your resume. Try to have one master document, one master template, and grab that one and tailor it to the place where you're applying. So that way you don't have to write a fresh one each time. Awesome. So with this one, we're going to talk about formatting, and it's pretty simple. It's a letter. It's exactly what it sounds like. You still want to think about the 4 Ps and yourself, but you can't forget that this is intended for somebody to read as if you were sending a letter. So make sure you have your name, your contact info, and you start off with dear so-and-so. It may be dear, the name of the person that's interviewing you, the name of the, if they had an in-house recruiter, maybe that person, or maybe the company. And you want to make it visually interesting. Again, it's a letter. And this one, with these, you have more creative leeway, in my opinion. And another tip that we suggest is to save it as a PDF and add your signature to it. A PDF makes it nice, cohesive, and a bit more professional, as opposed to if you were to send the Word doc. And I mean, think about it from the recipient's end. If you get a Word doc, you open it up. Yes, it's all the contents are there, but then you see that blinker highlighting. That's probably not what you want. So make one, export it as a PDF, and send that instead.
All right, now diving right into the content of cover letters, the most important elements are what you're writing about, why you want the job, why you're a good candidate, and of course, thank them for reading. Also, specifically for what you're writing about, make sure you write down the specific position that you're applying for. So even if you're applying for a couple of different jobs in the same company or organization, you still want to write, I know it's a little bit annoying, but save different cover letters for each position. It really just kind of tailors that experience a little bit more and makes them know that you're serious about each specific position. Also, use professional voice. I've read a couple of cover letters from people that I've reviewed, and it's just, just use professional voice. That's all I have to say about that. Don't forget who you're writing to as well. Also, many points and things that you write about in your cover letter can be recycled for thank you notes. So as you guys probably already know, if you meet with recruiters, say tomorrow at the invitational, and you want to email them afterward just to follow up, Something that you could do in that is also using your cover letter stuff, like specifically these important elements that we wrote up here, and just recycle those for thank you notes as well. So saying, thank you, I'm really excited about this job, specifically these positions, we talked about X, Y, Z. So a good way to save time and energy too is by recycling those two. So for structure, here are some examples. This template is from UCF OPD's website, and I'm sure everybody knows what OPD is, but it's Office of Professional Development through the College of Business, and it has that up here as well. So here's kind of what a template would look like for your cover letter. I really like this one. The only thing that I would change is that this is very essay-like, I would say. It's not as bad as it could be, but I would redact that and make it not as long. Try to make what you're saying shorter and more concise. In my cover letter also, I put bullet points in the middle of it to break up all of the words. So that's another recommendation that I would make as well. So this has a lot of text on it, and you can also find this on OPD's website if you guys want to look back at it later. But it kind of just breaks down what the example is. It has great voice. All of the different elements are on the side of it as well. As you can see, like we mentioned, it's an actual letter, dear blah, 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 sincerely at the end. And yeah, if you guys want to review this later, you're welcome to do that on the website. I don't want to really go through the whole thing just because we're a little short on time, but it's a good example. And oh, I forgot I included my cover letter in here. Look at that. So here is what my cover letter looks like. I make sure to highlight the specific position that I'm applying for in the top. Then I go kind of into my capabilities in this bullet point section, which I mentioned a little earlier. Then I say why I want to work for the company at the end, and then a thank you really quickly before sincerely, and then your name. So that's just my example as well.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Megan. Here are just some additional resources that are available to you. And I believe all of them are free. Yeah, all of them should be free. So UCF Office of Professional Development, you can make a reservation through your my.ucf, if I'm not mistaken. And as well, if you find their page, they have a spot called resources, and it has everything you might need from resume information, templates, to even things for networking with people on LinkedIn. So they're a great resource. UCF Career Services, you can do walk-in resume critiques. I believe everything is virtual now. I've done this one specifically, and it's done really quick. Somebody comes out and you show them you have to have a resume at least started. They'll come out, they'll give you handouts, resources, all kinds of stuff, and they'll tell you exactly what they suggest you change and adjust. And this online resource right here, novoresume.com, Lily showed me this one, and this one is more for templates. This is if you kind of wanted a more creative resume, that, like one of the examples that Megan showed earlier, where she said it had UCF colors. You can find templates like that on this website, also free. They have a paid version as well, but I'm only going to recommend things that are free. So they had some really cool free options. And now we are open to questions. If anybody has any questions, please drop them in the chat. Paula also says that Canva is a has great resume templates. I totally forgot about that one, but yes, they definitely do. Nice.
I didn't know Canva had templates for resumes, so that's cool.
Yes, they might also have some for cover letters too.
Ooh.
Not 1,000% sure, but you can take a look. They have lots of good just personal branding stuff. So if you want to make your own logo to add to your cover letter and your resume, or just like make all of your application documents like really tailored to your personal branding, like with adding a logo or certain brand colors and stuff, Canva is awesome for that.
Canva's where is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't believe Canva's still free. It blows my mind. Yeah. A good suggestion from Grant in the chat that I really like too is, he said, I like adding the company's logo in the cover letter I'm applying for, helps add a bit more personalization. That's cool. Yeah, something like, you could also put UCF's logo in there as well. You can go onto, I think it's, I don't know if it's UCF marketing, but they have, you know, that it's like a little tab that you see with the Pegasus on it and it says UCF on the bottom. You can actually download that for free. So if you want to put that on your resumes or cover letters, you could also do that if you're interested.
Yeah, Naya's tip is actually a good one. I know we were typically just talking about like resumes and cover letters, but for your LinkedIn, since it's an extension of your resume, if you're having trouble with knowing what to put as your header, Canva, you can really easily make a header for your LinkedIn profile, and like it already has like the size dimensions that it needs to be at and everything, so you're not like cropping it out or like having sizing issues. And you can make it look really seamless, and then you can maybe add in the logo from UCF for like even any logos for anywhere you're working at right now. It's just a good way to like really personalize your header and make it look professional at the same time.
I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but while you're typing them out, we also have, if anybody wants to take a picture of this, this is our upcoming events for AMA for the next, I think, 2 weeks. We have a couple of socials that'll be really fun. I'm running the Jackbox one. I love Jackbox. If you've never played before, come. It'll be really exciting. We're also having a PowerPoint party on there. Sorry, I had my stuff up. And a speaker event on March 11th. So if you want to take a picture of this, take a screenshot. We got some really fun stuff coming up.